This is a full book summary of Gabriel Garcia Marquez's 100 Years of Solitude. Let's get started, man. Or girl. Regardless of what gender you are, we can all still enjoy this book, even if it is a little bit queer in some parts. If you read the book, you probably know what I mean. Now, a little warning here, this whole book, it doesn't go chronologically. For the purposes of this video, I'll try to tell a story as chronologically as possible. However, there are some instances where we find out that we're talking about the past in the view of the present eye instead of we just experiencing the story as we go through it. Now, with that put aside, let's just start the story off. So it starts off with this guy named Colonel. God, these names are hard to pronounce. Aureliano Buendia. Aureliano Buendia. Yeah, Aureliano Buendia. Colonel Aureliano Buendia. He went ahead and he was facing a firing squad. He was a prisoner of war. He was blindfolded. And the quote literally read like this. Many years later, as he faced the firing squad, Colonel Aureliano Buendia was to remember that distant afternoon where his father took him to discover ice. Now, why would he remember that time when he went to discover ice? I still have no idea. However, back then, ice did not really exist because they were living in desert-like conditions. Or at least that is how it was described as. And they literally did live in a place where diamonds, anything that sparkled was basically diamonds, and they never saw ice before, so that kind of makes sense. Anyways, regardless of all the speculation, I will do more speculation in the full book review. Here we have several other things to worry about. Colonel Aureliano Buendia, he went ahead and recounted the story of his father, Jose Arcadio Buendia, who went ahead and did a bunch of wacky things. He himself was a little bit wacky too. He was the guy who founded Maconda. He literally got a bunch of people to follow him into the literally abyss of unknown, discover what was in it, and then he christened a little part of it as the starting place, as the town of what he would later call Macondo, which I should mention is heavily based on Gabriel Garcia Marquez's hometown of Aracataca in Colombia. So this isn't Spain, it's Brazil. So I guess we should go ahead and call the currency pesos. They're not Mexicans, they're South Americans, but yeah. Anywho, after that, we have the patriarch of the Buendias and the matriarch of the Buendias going ahead and founding the whole story, as well as getting 3 children while they're at it. One of them was very similar to their dad, who just looked like his dad, but he definitely lacked his dad's creativity and imagination, or at least his love of science. The last one did not look like his dad, but he did inherit the qualities of his imagination as well as greatness. And then this one, we're gonna have to talk about her later. She never ever actually had kids, nor was she ever married. One of them would become the colonel. The other one would become, the smart guy. Basically, the oldest of the sons went ahead and, ran away because he found a little gypsy woman he wanted to run away with. Afterwards, he would come back and become the colonel. Just kidding. The other one basically had the imagination of his dad, and he went off on his own as well too. His dad himself basically had a gypsy friend during the olden days, and so he was gifted a laboratory. And because of that laboratory, he just stayed there doing all of his experiments. Eventually, he found his way all the way up to the Supreme Tower of People and just locked himself in the laboratory for the rest of his days. Anywho, after all of that business, he learned a little bit more than he expected. Then he gave the laboratory to his son, who locked himself in it too. When the gypsies returned, they were all like, I want to stay here, except the only occasion when he found his old gypsy friend there. And then when they revealed that he was dead, he was kind of crestfallen. And then when the old gypsy came back in the next trip, he was like, wow, he's magic. This was also around the time when Jose and the colonel went ahead and discovered ice, which was shown to them by Gypsy. The Gypsy was like, give me some money to go ahead and touch it. And so he touched it and spent a great deal to let his kids touch it as well too. And then he spent some more money so he could touch it a second time. To look at it, they had to pay a fee, and it was incredible. The ice was shimmering, and they're like, "It's diamonds." No, it's ice. It's diamonds. No, it's frozen water. Ah, let it melt a little bit. Yeah, I can freeze it back up. Afterwards, we get a bunch of other things too. Finally, Jose died, and Ursula was the only sole oldest member of the Buendia family. They went ahead and did a bunch of other things, and she somehow outlived all of her 3 sons and daughters. Later on, she saw her grandchildren, and they basically went ahead and had things. She became blind, yada yada yada. All of her senses were heightened except her sight, which was darkened beyond recognition. And everyone else just went ahead and went off with their lives. They went ahead, used their lust, and repeated history, which Ursula witnessed all of it. And she probably went ahead and lost her marbles because of it. Because by the end of the book, she lost her marbles. She cannot experience what was real. She cannot experience what was fake. In fact, by this others, she had 5 fits of hysteria in the last few years before she died. And during those times, no one knew if she was describing what she was feeling or if she was describing what she was remembering. And eventually, when she died, her age was estimated to somewhere between 120 to 130 years old. And by the end of the book, we finally get a guy, the last sole surviving member of the Buendias, who was able to finally translate and decode a manuscript from a different language and a different code towards the regular grammar and the regular Spanish language that he reads today. Afterwards, he finally read the account of what happened to his family, found out that this parchment was 100 years old, and realized that the gypsy who wrote this, was able to predict what happened to his family in those 100 years, all the way up to him. And what book do you think that would be? Let me give you a little hint. 100 years. It's 100 Years of Solitude that he was reading himself. And that is kind of ironic, in my opinion. But I'll talk more about it in the review video. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope to see you guys soon. And so until next time, ladies and gentlemen, bye-bye.